Welcome to Biology, My Passion. I am Soumya Harikrishna. We are learning the chapter Molecular Basis of Inheritance. Now we are discussing the different processes in central dogma. So I recommend you to watch the video on central dogma before you learn the rest of the processes. So when we learned replication, information from one strand of DNA is copied into a new strand of DNA. Or based on the information on the template strand, a new strand is being formed. When it comes to transcription, so based on the information on one of the strands of the DNA, a new RNA strand is being formed. So in both these cases, from one nucleotide, another nucleotide polymer is forming, or both are chemically nucleic acids. In that case, it is rather easy. How to progress? There is a cue given there. What is that? The information on the DNA or the sequences on the DNA based on the rule of complementarity, that is adenine base pairs with the thymine, guanine base pairs with the cytosine in case of replication, or adenine with the uracil or guanine with the cytosine in case of transcription. It can go on. But the last process is protein synthesis, that is translation. So in case of translation, how is it different? From a polymer of nucleotide, that is mRNA, it's made up of nucleotides, we have to make a polymer of amino acids because proteins are made up of amino acids. Several amino acids are known, but mainly in animals the proteins are made up of 20 different amino acids. So initially it was found that if there is a change in the nucleic acid, that was making the change in the amino acid sequence. So we understood the information for making protein is in the nucleic acid. But in which form the information from DNA to mRNA is happening was not known. If we consider sugar or phosphate molecule carrying the information, but there are only one type of sugar and phosphate molecules, but amino acids are 20 types, so that is not the solution. We understood nucleotides are coding for each amino acid, but how many nucleotides? Nucleotides are only 4 types, so each one if codes for one amino acid, if you see the permutation combination, how many we will get? 4 only. If we consider 2 nucleotides coding for one amino acid, then also we can get maximum 16 amino acids only, but still 4 more yet to code for. Then a physicist, George Gamow, in the year 1954 boldly proposed that it is 4 to the power of 3. That means 3 nucleotides code for one amino acid. So if that is the permutation combination, we will get 64. More than enough. George Gamow proposed the triplet code for one amino acid. Then later in the year 1961, Francis Crick concluded that there could be 3 consecutive nucleotides coding for one amino acid. So we call it as codons. 3 different scientists, Marshall Nirenberg, Hargobind Khorana and Dr. Robert Hawley. These 3 scientists received Nobel Prize in the year 1968 for their work in the interpretation of the genetic code and also its function in protein synthesis. So actually they worked independently. The work started with Marshall Nirenberg, who first found out that UUU codes for phenylalanine, and later almost 50 amino acid sequences they discovered. The same way Hargobind Khorana also, he found leucine and serine. Dr. Robert Hawley mainly concentrated on the connection between the RNA and protein, and especially he discovered the structure of tRNA. Nirenberg used cell-free system for his study. That means they broke up a bacterial cell and they centrifuged and separated the subcellular fractions, and they tried to make a new strand without having the entire cell system. For this, there was an enzyme needed that was actually found by Severo Ochoa, a Spanish scientist. This is nothing but a polymerase enzyme, RNA polymerase enzyme, which can make a new strand of RNA without the help of a template strand. Usually we know based on the sequences only RNA will be forming. Here there is no cellular system, so this enzyme can produce a new RNA. And Hargobind Khorana was actually an Indian-born scientist. He was born in Raipur. He is credited for making the first artificial gene in the year 1980, the gene for rhodopsin. We are going to make a complete chart of all the 64 codons. So we know that 4 nucleotides are there containing uracil, cytosine, adenine and guanine. We have to write in this order UCAG vertically down, UCAG horizontally on top, but the right side each column should have UCAG. Now writing is easy. First you have to see this side. So here what is coming first? U. Second from top U. Third from there first. Again first, second, third C. First, second, third A. First, second, third G. Now if you look at the second column, U or U. Right? Second what will come? C. Third only will change. U, C, A, G. Now next again U, 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 first one. Second will be A. Third will be U, C, A, G. Right? This is how we can complete. Or I'll show one from this side. C, 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 C. Because first is C. Second U, U, C, A, G. When it comes here, what will come? C, C, U. All C, C will come. U, C, A, G. Here it becomes A, U. Right? A, U, U, C, A, G. Now the table is complete. I have just marked 3 here and 1 here with a separate color. These 3 are called stop codons and this one is called a start codon. Okay, we learned in replication there is a starting point, origin of replication. When it came to transcription, there was a terminator site and an initiator or promoter site starting and terminator site ending. So for protein synthesis also, there is a codon for starting, that is AUG, and there are codons for ending. Any of this can or 2 of them together may come to stop the codon. We will discuss this in detail, the salient features of the genetic code. So the first one, though there are 64 codons total, out of that only 61 triplet codons are coding for amino acid. Then what happens to those 3? The 3 are the stop codons which do not code for any amino acid. Okay, but first one AUG, though it is a start codon, it will code for an amino acid called methionine. Whereas these 3, they are only stop codons, they don't code for any amino acid. AUG is the start codon and it can also code for methionine. Okay, but in some cases, in some prokaryotes, there is another code called GUG. This codon actually codes for one amino acid called valine. Okay, so GUG can also act as the start codon. That means the first codon should be AUG, or rarely, especially when this getting deleted, GUG may act as the start codon. What is it coding for? Valine. But when it is acting as a start codon, both these will be coding for N-formyl methionine. Okay. In the starting stage only, they will code for N-formyl methionine. But AUG comes again in between. The intra positions, it will code for only methionine. But initial stage, if it is acting as a start codon, both of this will code for formylated methionine. The stop codons are otherwise called non-sense codons because they are not specified by any tRNA. So the stop codons are of 3 types, as I mentioned: UAG, UAA and UGA. Of this, The amber was the first one discovered. Actually, these are all named based on the first one. UAG, it was named amber to recognize a graduate student who contributed towards the study of mutation. His name was Bernstein. Actually, it was a German word for amber. So, it was named like this to keep the uniformity. Then later the other stop codons were named different names of colors like ochre and opal. Okay. Now, when it comes to the stop codon, there are no tRNA coming and binding to that stop codon. Then who can recognize that? There are release factors helping in the termination of protein synthesis. So the release factors are of three different types in case of prokaryotes. Release factor 1 can recognize UAA as well as UAG. Release factor 2 can recognize UAA or UGA, whereas the third release factor stimulates the other two. Whereas when it comes to eukaryotes, a single release factor can recognize all the three types of codons, stop codons. The next characteristic feature of our genetic code is it is degenerate. That means one amino acid can be coded by more than one triplet codons. Suppose many of you have more than one names, right? One name may be your formal name, another your dad may be having a pet name for you, or mother will be calling you by some other names, or your friends have given you some nickname, but all these are only one person, right? So the same way, different codons can code for one single amino acid, except for the case of methionine and tryptophan. Okay, so they are coded by only single codon, rest all are coded by more than one codons. So if there are 61 codons coding for amino acid, you know that the amino acids are brought to the site of protein synthesis by tRNA. And we learned the structure of tRNA in detail when I taught you the RNA together, right? So there we learned it has got an anticodon loop. Anticodon is complementary to the information on mRNA. So now we know three of this forms one codon. Its anticodon is here in the tRNA, right? So each tRNA is called actually adapter molecule. tRNA will go and pick the amino acid and bring it to the site of protein synthesis. Based on this codon, it can keep the amino acid, right? So if 61 codons are coding for different amino acids, naturally we expect 61 tRNA types also. But it was proven that the number of tRNA are much less than the 61. So that means some tRNA may be able to identify other amino acids also, or more than one amino acid. How is this possible? This was explained by Crick in the year 1966, and this theory is called a Weibull hypothesis. According to this theory, the first two positions, all the three anticodons should match. For example, here it is AUG, right? What is that? The start codon. So the start codon AUG will have its anticodon on the tRNA. A will become UAC. So this can bring methionine, because we know methionine is the first initial amino acid, right? So it can be brought here. Now the second also should be perfect. Anything. It can be any other, like UUU for phenylalanine. I am just taking an example. Here also all the three should match. So if that is the case, the RNA will have an anticodon AAA, complementarity, right? Up to these two positions it should be precise. But after that there are certain relaxation. Imagine there is an anticodon UCG. So what should be the codon here? It should be A, U will become A, C will become G, G will become C. So the codon should be AGC. Only then it can fit here. But this tRNA with this anticodon can also bind with AGU. But here we know that if this position U is coming, then The complementarity rule proposed by Crick won't be correct because G cannot go with U, right? G will go with only C. So this is a deviation from the usual Watson and Crick pairing mechanism. So such interaction between the third pair is called a Vogel hypothesis. So the next characteristic feature is universal. That means whether it is human beings or whales or frog or bacterium, in all these animals, the codon will code for a particular amino acid. For example, UUU codes for an amino acid called a phenylalanine. So it will code for phenylalanine in my body, it will code for phenylalanine in your body, or if you take the case of a butterfly or an ant or a rat or a cat, everywhere, even in bacterium, it is going to be UUU for phenylalanine. But there are slight exceptions. In certain protozoa and in mitochondrial codons, there can be slight variation. Otherwise, this rule is applicable to all. So we call it as genetic codon is universal. One single amino acid can be coded by different codons. But one codon can code for only one amino acid. Okay? So that is called a specific. There is a next feature, specific. So for example, there is a sequence like this. AUG, UUU, UUC, UUU, UUC, UUC. We know AUG codes for methionine. Usually we write only the first three letters of the name of the amino acid. UUU for phenylalanine, UU. First two letters means almost we are getting an idea. Phenylalanine, 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 phenylalanine. Okay? So, if you look at the table or you know the genetic codon, you can easily write what is the amino acid this codon is coding for. Now look at a situation where this is not given. Only this sequence is given. Here also methionine we can write because we learned methionine is coded by only one codon, that is AUG. Phenylalanine. Happily I am going to write UUU or UUC. We don't know. It can be UUU or UUC. So there is a confusion. We cannot write that. Understood? So we call it as specific. So the next characteristic of the codon is specific. So don't confuse between degenerate and specificity. Degenerate means one amino acid can be coded by different codons. Specificity means one codon will code for only one amino acid. And the last one, when we are writing these sequences of codons, anything like this, we don't use any punctuation marks. We are writing in a contiguous manner. So that is the last characteristic feature. Of genetic codon. Okay, so the salient features are there are 64 codons, only 61 will be coding for amino acids. The one is start codon, which is AUG. 3 are stop codons, they don't code for any amino acid, there are no tRNA specifying, so they are called nonsense codons. Then they are degenerate, they are specific, universal, and written in a contiguous manner. So this is all about genetic code. Hope you enjoy learning with me. If you like my teaching, please like, share and subscribe to my channel, Biology My Passion.